India's COVID cases are down, recoveries are up, but bad news on deaths. Deaths just in the month of May have crossed 70,000. The government says we have controlled infection to only 1.98% of the population. Daily vaccinations are up, but still way below the target. State after state stops vaccination with no stock. Aadar Poonawalla says we never exported vaccine at the cost of people of India. As Delhi's COVID graph declines and more patients are discharged, COVID centers are relatively empty. Former head of Indian Medical Association KK Agarwal dies of COVID. As black fungus cases rise, now there is a shortage of a key antifungal drug used to treat black fungus. Centre tells the states to use the drug judiciously, says the shortage is expected to get resolved at the earliest. Pinarayi Vijayan to have entirely new cabinet. Popular Health Minister of Kerala, KK Shailaja, is excluded. She tells NDTV it's a policy decision. And Indian Navy's daring rescue on the high seas to rescue ONGC workers stranded due to cyclone Taukte. Prime Minister Modi to visit Gujarat and due to personally review the situation and damage due to the cyclone. Hello and welcome to NDTV 24/7. I'm Rohit Wellington. Let's begin with our top story. India recorded a dip in coronavirus cases on Tuesday, but death figures have risen. 2.6 lakh cases were reported in the last 24 hours, a dip of 6.3% from the previous day. But India reported highest number of daily deaths so far at 4,329. Death figures up 5%. Total tests were also up by 15.8%. Positivity rate showed a slight dip. It was at 14.009%. Vaccinations in the last 24 hours were up 54%, a day after it was down 60%. Now, the government on Tuesday said that 98% of the population is still vulnerable.
हमारा इन्फेक्शन फैला जरूर है, लेकिन अभी भी केवल 1.8% देश की पॉपुलेशन ही उस इन्फेक्शन की चपेट में आई है जो कि पॉजिटिव पाई गई। यानी कि आज भी हमारे देश की केवल 2% पॉपुलेशन ही इन्फेक्शन या पॉजिटिव पाई गई है। लेकिन इसी के साथ एक कंटिन्यूड चैलेंज फिर हम लोगों के सामने आता है। इसका मतलब यह है कि अभी भी वल्नरेबल बोले या ससेप्टेबल बोले, करीब 98% देश की पॉपुलेशन आज भी ससेप्टेबल है।
Now, daily vaccination numbers may be up, but the shortage of doses is impacting India's vaccination drive. State after state has stopped vaccinations. People are struggling to book slots. Telangana has had no vaccines for 4 consecutive days.
The vaccination drive in Telangana has been put off indefinitely. Today, in fact, is the 4th day when vaccinations are not happening in Telangana state. The state health department has said that they have run out of Covaxin. They have not got any fresh stocks from the health and family welfare department. Telangana has so far inoculated 44 lakh people with the first dose, of whom 11 lakh has got a second dose as well. So, 11% of the population has got at least one dose. They have not started inoculation for the 18 to 44 category and focused this month on giving the second dose. Just yesterday, in fact, Sputnik V had started its soft launch at Apollo, where in fact Dr. Reddy's foundation people and the laboratories employees and their families were vaccinated. That is not open to the public. We are being told that after a gap, it would be started in several other centers. As we understand, Sputnik V, of course, is in partnership with the RDIF, is going to be conducting clinical trials in India. But as of now, after the emergency use authorization was given on the 13th of April, the vaccine has been allowed to be imported, which means about 1.6 lakh vials of the doses of the first dose for the vaccine and 60,000 for the second dose have been brought in. 63-year-old Ali Muhammad has been making daily trips to this vaccine center in Srinagar for the last 11 days, but has found it locked each time as there is no vaccine available at the health facility. The tailor says the increasing number of cases has him worried.
मिलता ही नहीं है किसी जगह, ये सब जगह अगर ये जिस जगह जाएगा उस जगह बोलते हैं वैक्सीन नहीं है। टीवी पर ये उसे बहुत भाषण देता है।
Jammu and Kashmir reported 73 deaths due to COVID on Monday, the highest single-day fatality in the region.
For last 11 days, most of the districts in Jammu and Kashmir have reported zero vaccination. Government, instead of making vaccines available, has chosen to stop releasing data on vaccination.
In Guwahati, 37-year-old Babul Dhar has persistently tried to book a vaccination slot ever since the state opened jabs for the 18 to 44 category on the 7th of May. Dhar says it is wrong that pharmacists like him, who supply life-saving drugs, have not been prioritized as frontline workers.
हम तो करीब 10 रोज हो गया ट्राई कर रहे हैं, कोई स्लॉट ही नहीं मिल रहा है, चाहे रूरल में हो चाहे मेट्रो में हो। कल भी ट्राई किया है, कल हम तीन आदमी मिलकर ट्राई किया है। प्रोफेशनल हो गया हम लोगों का, सुबह 7 बजे दुकान खोलो और रात 8 बजे 9 बजे दुकान बंद करो। इसका अंदर में कौन कोविड पेशेंट आता है, कौन किसका बॉडी में कोविड है, किसका बॉडी में नहीं है, वो भी हम लोग को पता नहीं।
Chennai has inoculated 50% of its 45 plus population and wants to boost the numbers through targeted vaccination drives of up to 25,000 people every day in industries, slums, residential and corporate communities, and doorstep vaccination for differently abled.
Around 1.4 lakh doses, and we are right now doing around 20,000 vaccinations per day, and we hope to get more doses in the coming weeks. So we'll be able to reach a target is what we hope.
With inputs from Nazir Masoodi in Srinagar, Sam Daniel in Chennai, this is Uma Sudhir in Hyderabad for NDTV.
Now, the Serum Institute chief Adar Poonawalla on Tuesday said that his firm has never exported vaccines at the cost of people of India. He said that many countries in the world were facing an acute crisis. Our government extended support during this period. India's vaccination drive cannot be completed in 2 to 3 months. We have delivered more than 200 million doses, and if we look at total doses produced and delivered, we are amongst the top 3 in the world. India now is receiving support from countries where vaccines, medicines were exported, and it is important to stay united to fight the pandemic. Now, the declining number of daily COVID cases in Delhi have resulted in increase in the number of vacant beds and intensive care units in the city's hospitals, giving much needed respite to its citizens. On Tuesday, Delhi had 12,907 vacant beds.
For the 13th straight day, Delhi has recorded more recoveries than positive cases. With the influx of COVID patients going down considerably in the last few days, more vacant beds seen in hospitals across the national capital. 4,482 positive cases were reported in the last 24 hours in Delhi, whereas 9,403 recoveries were reported. 85,019 people have recovered in the national capital in the last 1 week, whereas 54,174 positive cases were reported in the last 1 week.
With the recoveries nearly doubling the positive cases in the last few days, the pressure on the health system in the national capital has eased, and the oxygen requirement has also gone down less than 500 metric ton per day.
In Delhi, 46% of COVID beds are currently vacant. 43% of oxygen beds and 15% of ICU beds are vacant.
Currently, we have around 62 patients. The last 4 to 5 days, we've been receiving much fewer admissions than before. There were around 100 odd beds occupied, 110 beds occupied.
Okay, so of which it has been reduced to?
60 odd.
So as of now, how many patients that you have treated, how many patients have been discharged from here?
Total nearly 240, 250 patients have been discharged till now.
Similar situation in the Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel COVID Care Centre managed by the ITBP in South Delhi. More than 50% of beds are vacant here too, with over 900 patients discharged since its inception on the 26th of April.
मेडिटेशन सब कुछ ठीक ठाक रहा। अभी कैसा महसूस? अभी थोड़ा सा खराब है, बाकी मतलब 90%।
योगा और मेडिटेशन जो स्पेस काउंसलरों को अलग करवाया जाता था उससे।
Though the number of vacant beds outnumber occupancy in COVID care centers where moderate to mild cases are treated, almost 85% of the ICU beds in dedicated COVID hospitals are occupied where severe COVID patients are being treated. With camera person Ashwini Mehra, this is Arvind Gunasekar for NDTV.
After months of non-stop requests for plasma on social media and through NGOs as part of the COVID treatment, the therapy has now been removed from ICMR's recommended treatment protocol. But panicked families don't want to forego any potential treatment option for their loved ones.
Despite plasma therapy being dropped from ICMR's COVID treatment protocols due to doubts about its effectiveness, plasma donations at the Institute of Liver and Biliary Sciences in Vasant Kunj are in full swing. This plasma bank was set up by the Delhi government when plasma therapy was being pushed as one of the strategies to combat COVID-19. Dr. Sareen, director of ILBS, says donations will continue here.
The wise men in the country, they have decided right now it is not a priority or it is not a listed therapy for COVID. Rightly so, I have nothing against. But ILBS will continue to provide as the Delhi government's job.
Dr. Zuha Ahmed, a resident doctor working in the blood bank of a Delhi government hospital, has moved mountains to treat her 65-year-old COVID-positive aunt, Shamima Fatima, at the ICU at her workplace. Grasping at straws to improve her condition, Dr. Ahmed arranged for plasma therapy despite the change in guidelines.
Gave her today only, but the thing is, I know that these things won't, are just a trial. They won't work out, or they might be, but their studies are still going on. I know only the steroids and the blood thinners will work out, but still being a family member and she's like my own Taiji, so I feel like giving everything which is possible, which I think would help out.
Fatima fell ill in her village in Bachraun, UP. Dr. Ahmed travelled to UP to treat her but found that she'd been given typhoid medication without even testing for COVID. Now that Dr. Ahmed has finally got her aunt a bed in Delhi and spends almost 24 hours a day attending to her, the decision to do plasma therapy despite little evidence for its effectiveness, she says, is an emotional one.
In addition to Dr. Ahmed, we spoke to 3 attendants of COVID patients over the phone who went ahead with plasma therapy today despite the change in guidelines. Panicked families don't want to take any chances with their loved ones. With Akshay Dongre, Meher Pandey for NDTV.
Now, as black fungus cases rise, pharmacies are reporting shortage of antifungal drug amphotericin. Centre has told the states to use the drug judiciously and has said that the shortage is expected to get resolved at the earliest.
Kalyani's desperate appeal for her husband Anji Babu, following which the government got him a hospital bed. As he recovered from COVID, he developed an eye infection and soon lost that eye. Now the other one is infected. The diagnosis is black fungus disease or mucormycosis. The doctors are waiting for the medication to work.
After remdesivir, tocilizumab and oxygen, the new rush is for amphotericin, an antifungal drug that is used to counter black fungus, and its stocks are running low in Delhi.
Even at Delhi's biggest pharmacy hub next to AIIMS and Safdarjung hospitals, the drug is nowhere to be found.
मेडिसिन के लिए बोला है, मैं सुबह 11 बजे से ढूंढ रहा हूँ, पूरा यूसुफ सराय देख लिया, ग्रीन पार्क में भी है, वहाँ भी देख लिया, कहीं नहीं मिल रहा है, 2.5 घंटे हो गए ढूंढते पर ये मिल नहीं रही मेडिसिन कहीं भी, शॉर्ट चल रही है बहुत ज़्यादा।
इट्स अ लाइफ सेवर, लेकिन मुझे ये कहीं पर भी नहीं मिल रही है। मैं बहुत सी शॉप्स में ट्राई कर चुकी हूँ, बट नहीं मिल रहा है कहीं भी।
कितनी शॉप्स में ट्राई किया अभी तक?
ऑलमोस्ट मेरे ख्याल से यहाँ ये 20th शॉप होगी जिसमें मैंने ट्राई किया है।
कम से कम मैडम 50-60 100 के करीब ही हो जाते हैं सारा रात तक, तो 100 पेशेंट कम से कम डेली आते हैं।
डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर की तरफ से कोई अश्योरेंस मिला है आपको कि कब तक?
वो भी नहीं बता पा रहे हैं कब तक आएगा, उनको भी जैसे पूरा वो नहीं है कब तक आएगा ये।
आपका स्टॉक कितने दिन से खत्म है?
हमारा तो 10-15 दिन हो गए।
Across India, cases of black fungus are on the rise. This is, of course, the fungal infection triggered by COVID.
We are now first and foremost identifying high-risk patients for mucormycosis. And these patients are who are already having uncontrolled diabetes or diabetic ketoacidosis, and these are the patients who have to be strictly monitored for a rational use of steroids. Steroids definitely are one major factor in the increased incidence of mucormycosis.
State governments have been reacting to black fungus or mucormycosis. In Telangana, amphotericin cannot be sold without the approval of a government committee. In Haryana, black fungus has been declared a notified disease and each case has to be reported to the government.
Yesterday, the Union Health Ministry said that it has identified 5 suppliers of the drug and is making efforts towards optimal allocation. In the last 2 weeks, states have been supplied with 1 lakh vials of this drug, and the government is also exploring the option of importing the drug. With Oma Sudhir in Hyderabad, in New Delhi with camera person Sushil Rathi, this is Sukirti Dwivedi for NDTV.
Welcome back now to Cyclone Taute's aftermath. It was for the first time that a cyclone hit the entire western coast. It has now reduced to a deep depression, and there's a heavy rain alert in Uttarakhand, Rajasthan and Delhi.
It is a landmark storm with some alarming firsts. It's the first storm to impact the entire west coast. It also retained a severe cyclone status for 15 hours post landfall till about 11:30 this morning. The rain and wind never weakened at any point since the start on 13th of May. And perhaps most worryingly, the eye of the storm continued even after landfall, which was about 60 kilometers. And this slowed movement caused the cyclone to remain over land for much longer than usual. The storm unleashed devastating winds reaching 190 kilometers per hour, damaging structures and uprooting trees, leaving hundreds of thousands of people without electricity. More than 2 lakh people were evacuated from along the coastal belt of Saurashtra and Kutch. Cyclones during pre-monsoon phase are a rare occurrence, and scientists say it is due to climate change.
While Bay of Bengal used to be this basin where we had storms and cyclones coming in, Arabian Sea used to be calm and cool. But that has changed due to ocean warming, rapid ocean warming. Now the Arabian Sea is a warm pool, chaining of cyclones which are more intense and more frequent.
Climate change is taking place and sea surface temperatures of Arabian Sea as well as Bay of Bengal are on rise. Therefore, we think that now intensity as well as frequency of cyclones will keep on increasing year by year.
This system has in all claimed 21 lives and suspended the vaccination drive in affected areas. With Divya Vadva in New Delhi, this is Purva Chitnis in Mumbai for NDTV.
And here's a report on Indian Navy and Coast Guard's daring rescue operation to rescue people stranded due to Cyclone Taute.
A sailor on board one of the barges stranded off the coast of Maharashtra being winched up to a rescue helicopter. Elsewhere, survivors rescued by the Navy after a night of terror out in the Indian Ocean have been flown back to Mumbai on these helicopters. They say they endured hell overnight, not knowing if they would make it out alive. A few were rescued from this life raft.
हम 250-300 आदमी हैं उधर थे बार्ज पे जो हमारे इंचार्ज साहब हैं वो बोले अपने लाइफ जैकेट वो सेफ्टी वाला है वो बोला अपनी लाइफ जैकेट पहन के रेडी रहो तो बोल रहे हैं कि 2 बोट आ रहा है
लाइफ जैकेट पहनने के बाद फिर आप
लाइफ जैकेट पहन के तब छलांग समुद्र में लगाया.
2 barges of the Oil and Natural Gas Corporation of India felt the full fury of the cyclone. One of them, barge P305, has sunk at its location. The other, Gal Constructor, has run aground 48 nautical miles north of Kolaba Point. In total, there were 410 workers on board these barges. All 137 on Gal Constructor have been rescued, but so far 93 remain missing of the 273 on board the other barge. The Navy and Coast Guard will continue rescue operations through the night. With Purva Chitnis, Vishnu Shom for NDTV.
Kerala now, where after a historic win in the recent election, the CPM has decided to drop all previous ministers, including KK Shailaja, who won global recognition for her work in COVID management. Speaking to NDTV, she said it's a policy decision.
Radical changes for the Pinarayi Vijayan government 2.0. Except for him, all ministers are new faces. The outgoing ministers have been dropped. Even KK Shailaja, the former Kerala health minister who made global headlines for her handling of the pandemic. Among the first-time ministers in the government will be the Chief Minister's son-in-law, Mohammad Riaz, DYFI national president since 2017, and 3 women out of the 21 ministers against last year's 2.
We had formed a new government. Only CM was included in this cabinet. Rest 11 ministers from the CPM was new. All ministers has performed well in the last election. Look, what about Thomas Isaac? What about G. Sudhakaran? What about the person E.P. Jayarajan? They didn't contest in the last election. Few among the ministers has contested in this election. We are not bringing back them as a minister. These are party decision. Party is bringing new face.
This decision comes at a time when the LDF government is gearing up for a swearing-in ceremony on 20th May, amid a strict statewide lockdown, with invitees restricted to 500, despite the Indian Medical Association's appeal for an online ceremony. From not fielding top ministers, now ex-MLAs like Thomas Isaac, to not repeating ministers like KK Shailaja, CPIM claims that they are focusing on Generation Next. However, they have left even some of their own supporters skeptical. With camera person SP Babu, Sneha Koshi for NDTV. How do you see the decision of not including you as part of the new cabinet in Kerala government?
It's a policy decision of our party and the Left Democratic Front, that our party decided that all the ministers should be newcomers and no other minister previously who were in the office was not with the new cabinet. And according to that decision, I also decided to quit.
How would you respond to people who are saying this is a misogynist decision of a party?
No, we cannot say so, because every time the freshers would come. When I came to office, I was first candidate. And so many workers are there in the party, and they should also get the opportunity to prove their work or to serve the society. They should also get the opportunity. I'm thinking so.
Is this same like why Mr. Thomas Isaac or other experienced MLAs, former ministers, were not even fielded in the elections?
Yeah, they were not even fielded in the elections. And I contested in the election and I won also. I am now...
You won in a historic manner, just the way the left won in a historic manner.
Thanks to the people. And I can work as an MLA in my constituency and also with my party.
Well, you are going to be the party's chief whip. All the best, Ms. KK Shailaja.
Well, that's a wrap on this bulletin from the entire team. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.